Hi there, I'm Ryan, a technician at 4x4 AT here in Leeming Bar. Today I'm going to be showing you how to fit the most durable e-roller on the 2021 D-Max. Here we have our platform rack, which does mount to the Aeroklas e-roll. This does have our optional side rails. We also have in front of that crossbars, as well as the feet to mount it to the Aeroklas e-roll. Now, to fit the e-roll to the D-Max, these are the tools that we're going to need. Have a selection of drill bits, drill, 32mm hole saw, 29mm hole saw, soldering iron, wire strippers, impact driver, solder, Loctite, electrical tape, some quarter drive bits, T30, T40, an extension, 1/2 inch ratchet, 10, 13. Then I'm going to use these long tie wraps here to help me with the wiring, to pull the wiring through the tub, cable ties, and finally a torch. So we're going to start by unboxing the e-roller, then we're going to assemble it and then jump onto the wiring on the vehicle, and then finally mount the roller shutter to the vehicle. So this is how you're going to receive your electric e-roll. We notice on the front it says for an Isuzu and it is for a double cab. So as we can see, our box is in good condition, but if yours is not, then we do need to sign that on the consignment note that it is damaged. So with that being said, we are now ready to move on to the next step of unboxing. So just removing the top layer of packing, we have the lid for our e-roll. So firstly, I'm going to take that out of the box and just put it to one side for now. So unboxing the roller shutter, I'm going to build it in the same orientation as the truck, so left hand side and right hand side. Laying that out, I'll start with the rail on this side. So lifting the canister out of the box is ideally a two-person lift. You could disassemble the box just to help you move it out, but I am going to get Ben to give me a lift with it out. So also in the box we have fitting instructions and the brackets, as well as the drain tubes and the wiring. So the bag with the drain tubes and the wiring in, I'm just going to pop that aside for now. Not going to need that for a bit. Going to open the bag that has the brackets and the fitting instructions in. So I'm going to take out the parts that I need to mount the rails to the canister. So out of the parts here, we want the M6 T30s and some spring washers and flap washers. We're going to use some Loctite as well, just to keep them rails nice and secure to the canister. So I'm just going to start with putting the Loctite on my bolts. I need a massive amount, but repeat this the 6 times. So spring washer goes on first, and then flat washer. Now that our bolts are Loctited, I'm ready to mount the side rails to the canister. So to do that, I'm just going to tip this back on itself and then grab the rail. Now, if we look here and at the back, we have this T-slot that needs to slide down there. So we'll slide that in first, sliding on there, and then pop it forward, and we'll do the same on the opposite side. So moving on to the left hand rail, we have a harness in the rail, which is the buttons down the bottom. We just need to pay attention that we don't trap that when mounting it. So we'll slide it on here, and then we're going to slide it forward to that plastic down the channel. Now ready to mount the bolts in the side. Just go up and pick up on the keyways, which are already in the rails. Now I'm going to move over to the other side and do the same. Now that we've got both our rails mounted, I'm just going to plug in harness for the buttons. It only goes in one way, and I've got an audible click. And just make sure you have yellow to yellow, green to green, and blue to blue. Just try not to force it in. We're ready now to slide the keyways into the rails. These are what the brackets on the bed are going to pick up on. So we have 6 of those, 3 on either side, and then 6 grub screws as well. These again I'm going to Loctite. If we look at the grub screw, we have one side is an Allen key and the other side is not. We want the Allen key facing outwards so we can tighten and loosen that as we please. Now I've got a Loctite on there, I'm just going to slide this into the keyway. Keyway slides in like this, so we have our T slot at the bottom. Now that we've done that, we're going to lift the roller shutter up and slide our keyways in, so 3 on either side. If we look here, we have a little position to slot the keyways in. This is just a rough position. So these are roughly at the back, middle and front currently, and then we're going to put them in a final position when we mount the roller shutter on the vehicle. Now that we've done that, we're ready to move on to the vehicle and do the wiring. Now we're going to start the electrics on the vehicle. Just open the pack here, and this is what you're going to get in that bag. We have our main loom, some large tie wraps, internal loom, and the plugs to connect the main loom and the internal loom together. So the first place that we're going to start is at the back of the bed, closest to the cab, with the main loom. So I'm going to start there, feeding this cable up from the bottom up and into the tub itself. Now the best way that I've found in my personal experience to get this loom up into the tub, I'm going to use 2 tie wraps which I've taped together. You could use the long ones that come in the bag, and we're going through the hole here in this corner which is between the skins, and I'm going to feed that cable tie, so the gap that you can see there, that's where I'm going to tie wrap, and then just feed that down, and it will come out at the bottom of the arch. Now as we pass that through, the cable tie is going to be behind this arch liner here, and the skin of the bed and the side of the car. So you can see it's just here. All I'm going to do now is electrical tape this to the end of there and pull that up through the bottom of the vehicle. Now that we're taped on, we can pull this up. Now you may have to help feed it at the same time, but don't just absolutely pull it, because you'll just pull what we've taped on the other side. So now that's through, I'm just going to tape electrical tape off. Now just pop that through there just to stop it pulling back. Now that we've got our wiring through the tub, we're ready to move on to feeding the wiring up to the battery and at the back of the wheel arch on the left hand side. So just as an extra precaution, so I don't pull the wire back through, I'm just going to electrical tape that to the factory anchor point, like so, and that'll mean when I pull my wiring tight, I don't pull this back through. Our wiring now are ready to run up to the battery. All I'm going to do is go over the chassis, follow the factory loom, and then come up to the battery, which this part here will go to the battery, and this part here will go behind the front wheel arch and into the cab of the vehicle. Now that I have the loom up to the back of the front wheel, I'm ready to run this section up to the battery and this section here to go through the arch liner here. But to do that, I'm going to turn the wheel so I have a bigger gap here, and then I'm going to hook this, lift the bonnet and hook one of the terminals to pull the wiring up and towards the battery. So I'll start by popping the bonnet, then start the car and turn the wheel. So you could do the same as what we've done at the back with the tie wraps, pulling it up. I'm just going to use this fiberglass rod here with a hook on, and what I'm going to do is feed that between the brake lines and the wing and pull the loom up so it's in a good position to attach it to the battery. Now that we've got the wiring in the engine bay, we need to remove a bung for the central locking wires to be passed through the firewall and into the car. So I'm going to remove that bung and then you shall see it. So the bung that we need is just down here, and it is in between two large oval bungs. So that's the bung, that's the side that you will see, and that's the internal side. Now I've already removed it, but the bung that we need to go through to point to it so you can actually see it. Our central locking wires, the green and the blue, can now go through that hole, and we'll pick them up on the other side of the car. So I'll start by putting them through first and then grabbing them. Now to pull the wires through the car, they're behind the firewall carpet. So to do that, the wire that we're going to run, the internal wire on the other loom, runs down underneath this pillar. So I'm just going to lift this up, which is a simple pull up. And now I'm going to remove this front plastic. Now to remove this, we're just going to unscrew this plastic cap by hand and then pull this forward and to the side. Now I'm ready to grab our loom, which is up here. Now our loom is between this loom here, this fat loom, and there's another fat loom just there. So our bung is roughly here. So I can use a pick or you can use your hand and then pull that through. Now I need to go to the other side and push that bung into position. Now I've got the second part of our loom, the internal loom here. We have the two lock and unlock signal wires here that we do need to put the plugs on. Now I'm going to fit the smaller plug to the main loom, the one that goes from the battery into the firewall. Now we have two small cutouts in the metal which pick up on the plug inside. So listen for the click when you push that in. Now we put the other end of the plug on here and match our colours up. So clip that in. Now we want to go blue to blue and green to green. So same again, we have on this, we have small cutout on the metal for it to plug in. So make sure you do get a click like so, and then try that, and it's nice and tight. Now we're ready to run the rest of that loom down the passenger side and towards the middle of the vehicle, where this is going to pick up on a factory plug. Now, running the loom down the passenger side, I'm going to use these original fixings to hold the loom back. To do that, I'm going to simply pull that tab and lift upwards, and then pop our loom through that, and do the same on the next one, and so on. Now, our next step to remove this panel is to take this rear kick plate off, which again, like the front, just pulls upwards like so. And then we need to remove this panel, which just clips and clips. Now, the plug that we're looking for is just down here and has two tabs on it. I'm going to push those tabs in and lift the plug out. Now, to get to the connector, I'm going to push it to the other side here, so some space. Turn that over. Now we can see we have a clip on the top. Grab our wire, plug that in. Now just click your box back into the same position it was before. Now that we're plugged in down there, we can refit our trim panel. And refit our rear panel. So we can just fit the final part of the weather strip. So running the wire back that way, we're going to have some excess, so just fold it over on itself and then just pop these clips back over, and we can fit that front panel. So it goes over the thread at the back first, threaded bolt, and then in the side. Our little tab just flips over and just pushes on. Now just refit our kick plate. Now that the majority of our wiring is in, we're ready to move over to the back, fit our brackets and our E-roll. We're back in the bed now, and we're going to install these two different types of brackets. We have our rears and we have our fronts. Now on the brackets, they have a embossed mark on them. So this one has LH and this one here also has LH. Same on this one, we have RH, and then on the other one, RH. Again, these are our rears and these are our fronts. Left hand, right hand. So we'll start with our front being the bulkhead closest to the cab window. Now our front brackets, one closest to the cab window, picks up off this top bolt here, which is a T40. So I'll crack that off, they are tight. And then we're going to use these same bolts again once we've put our brackets on. So remove that left hand bracket, which goes like this. just nip that up. And then repeat the same process on the opposite side. So again, we're going to do the left hand side. Again, we're going to use the same bolt. And then our bracket, if we pay attention to this notch here, this goes on the underside of the rail. So on that side, up, and then put your bolts in position. Again, tighten that up. I'll do the same on the right hand side. Underneath and then up. And from there, just nip that up. Now from this point, we're ready to lift the roller shutter on and plug it in into the plug, and then start to fix our brackets along the side. So just before we mount the E-roll, I'm going to wet the sides of the bed with glass cleaner, and then I'm going to ask Ben to give me a lift with it onto the tailgate, and then I'm going to lift it into position. So I'll soak my rails. Again, one more thing just before we lift it on is I'm going to remove the keys for it and put them straight onto the car keys. So I've got the roller shutter on nearly 3/4 of the way. We need to remove the front tie down points as they will interfere with the canister. So I'm going to do that now and then put the roller shutter into its final position. So two 12mm bolts to remove. And same on the opposite side. So from the point that we're at here now, I'm just going to connect the loom that we've run underneath the car to the actual roller shutter. Lean in here. Now that we're connected up and our front tie down points are removed, we're ready to lift this in to its final position. Now we want to install the bolts that go through both sides of the canister, which go outwards into our front brackets, and then lift the back end up to slide our keyways into those rear brackets. So I'll do the rear brackets first. So all I'm going to do is lift the arm up. So I'll slide the back one so it's in line with that. And I've kept it loose so I can move the roller shutter forward or backwards according to the front hole. Now I'll do the same on the opposite side. Now we'll move to the front and do those bolts. Now that our keyways are in line with our back brackets, I can slide the flat washer and the nut on. So we want two M6 nylock nuts and an M6 flat washer, and they will go into our grub screw. So just tighten that by hand for now and leave that like that. And then the same on the opposite side. I'm just doing it by hand for now. Now I've got our M8 by 30 T40 bolts for the front for the canisters. So we have our T40, so spring washer first, then flat washer. Now we're ready to fit them into the canister. So our bolts, if we look at the canister there, we have that hole just there that we can see. That's where our bolts are going to go through, so careful not to drop them. Now I'm going to move to the opposite side and do the same again. Now we're ready to tighten them up. We're going to tighten them up evenly. Don't do the left side too tight, and then we're going to move over to the right and then the left again, just to pull it sideways evenly. So it's starting to get tight there now. I'll move over to the right and do that side. Now we can fit the cover to the top of the canister. So we'll attach the lid using the M5 countersunk screws, which are T25. So just get these started and then do the next one. Get that one started and then do the same on the opposite side. And then once they're all started, we'll tighten it all down as one. Now we're ready to assemble our brackets. There is 2 to go on either side. We have one M8 by 50 and one M8 by 70, both T40s. So to build our clamps, and slide this one over the other one, like so. This small part goes down there. Now on the M8 by 50, we need to add spring and flat, and we want the one nylock nut that passes through one bracket, goes through the other, and slide the nut to the second hole and get that started. Now our M8 by 70, that goes through this bracket here with the threaded part in it. That passes through there. So then we have 2 M8 nuts to go on there. And then finally the part that pushes against the side of the bed. And that just starts to screw on the end, like so. Now we want to repeat this step another 3 more times to give us 2 brackets on either side. Now ready to fit our brackets. We start with the ones closest to the bulkhead window and then move to our ones near the back. So this part here is what holds up the rail, so the keyway with the grub screw slides through here. This part then clamps to the side of the bed, the actual rail of the bed that comes out, and then we have our final piece which pushes against the side to keep our clamp straight, so it's not like that. So if your clamp is bending that way, we'll then use this screw at the bottom to counter that bending. So I'll fit our first one. So it slides up there, just hold that in place. Then we have flat washer and the M6 nylock nut to go on first. Pop that off. Now we're going to repeat the same process on the opposite side. Now that we've got all 4 clamps on, ready to tighten them up. So now that I've got our clamps tight here, I'm going to pull I'm going to tighten the T40 here, which will bring this clamp up, and then if it does start to pivot, you use that bolt to bring it back into 90 degrees. So now they're tight, I'm just going to use that top bolt, the bottom bolt, sorry, to make sure that the clamp is level. And then once we're happy with that, we can lock those bolts off. Now all our clamps are on, we're ready to connect to the battery. I would say at this point is where I would do the drain tubes. As this roller shutter is only staying on temporarily, we're not going to do that, so don't want to drill into this truck that it's not staying on. So as I say, we're not fitting the drain tubes to this vehicle, but I will show you if you're going to fit them to yours. Now if the vehicle had a spraying liner, we would drill a hole through the bed of the truck, and usually behind the light, or out of the front. If the vehicle does have a liner, you only drill through the liner for the water to disperse onto the bed of the truck and then out. So to fit the drain tubes, all you're going to do, so your Jubilee clip would go on first. We slide that up there and then tighten our Jubilee clip up. Now we want a nice curve for the water to drain out, no kinking. And then I would drill through the back here and to the back of the light, and then that will flow out through the bed, or if you have a liner, that would flow just through the liner. Now for the front drain tubes, so same again, if we're to do the drain tubes at the front, Jubilee clip on first and then our drain tube on. Now again, we want a nice curve, but we don't want it to go upwards or get kinked, so a nice gradual slope down. So in this case it would be somewhere here, and the same on the opposite side, and that would give a nice gentle curve and out through the front of the bed. Now we're ready to connect to our battery. So our wiring comes at the back and down by the fuse box. Now as you can see, that's all tucked away nicely. I'll just bring that positive through there. So positive, lift this cover off. So I'm just going to take one of these off. I'm holding it down to keep a permanent connection. Then we can refit the cover to the positive side on the negative. So now we're going to check the roller shutters doing exactly what we want it to, responding off the key, opening and closing, and not struggling to open and close. So first of all, I'm going to lock the car. I do have the bonnet open, so you might hear a beep. And then I'm going to unlock the car. I can now move over to the electric roller shutter one and press the down arrow. To allow the roller shutter to come back to its fully closed position. Now we're ready to go back to the loom, and any bits of the loom that are hanging down we want to tie wrap up. Tie wrap them to the factory loom up and out the way so you don't rubbing it on anything. Make sure you're not tie wrap into any fuel lines or brake lines. So we'll do that now, and then we'll finish up straightening the wheels and closing the bonnet. This completes the install of the e-roll on the 2021 to present D-Max. Thank you for watching.